My name is Rachel Doyle. I am 34 years old, and 6 months ago, my boss looked me straight in the eye and told me I wasn't ready for something I had already built with my own hands. I had been working at Halston Coal Marketing for almost 5 years. Mid-size agency, downtown Chicago. The kind of place where everyone knows whose coffee order is whose. I'd pulled 12-hour days more times than I could count, and I'd never once complained about it. Not really. When the Bramwell Foods account came in, a national grocery chain looking to rebrand their entire private label line, I was the one who wrote the pitch deck. I was the one who flew to Minneapolis twice to sit across from their VP of marketing, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Carol Ito, and walk her through every slide myself. I built the relationship, not my boss, me. So when my boss, Dennis Whitfield, called me into his office on a Tuesday morning and told me he was moving Marcus onto the account as lead, I thought I'd misheard him. "Say that again," I said. He didn't even look uncomfortable. That's the part that got me. He just leaned back in his chair like he was telling me the printer was out of toner. "Marcus is going to take point on Bramwell going forward," he said. "You'll still support, obviously, but this is a big client, Rachel, and I need someone who's ready for this level." I sat there for a second, waiting for him to laugh, to say it was a joke. He didn't. "I brought them in," I said. "I've been on every call. I know their whole team by name." "I know," he said, "and I appreciate everything you've done to get us here. But the final presentation is a different animal. It needs polish, confidence. Marcus has that boardroom presence." Boardroom presence. I remember the words exactly because I repeated them to myself the whole walk back to my desk, like I was trying to figure out what language he'd been speaking. Marcus had been at the company 11 months. He was fine. Not incompetent, just green, still learning which clients like to be emailed versus called. He'd sat in on maybe 4 Bramwell calls total. He didn't know that Carol hated being CC'd on threads with more than 5 people. He didn't know her assistant's name was Priya, or that Carol always wanted the numbers before the concepts, never the other way around. I didn't argue. I want to be honest about that because looking back, I sometimes wish I had made more noise, but I've never been someone who fights loudly in a room where I already know I've lost the vote. So I said, "Understood," and I went back to my desk and I kept working like nothing had happened. I had no idea that morning just how badly Dennis had misjudged what ready actually meant. The final presentation was scheduled for the following Monday, 6 days out. I found out most of the details secondhand because once Marcus was named lead, I wasn't looped into the planning calls anymore. Dennis said it was so I could focus on other accounts, which was his way of saying I was being quietly moved out of the room. I still saw pieces of it though. Marcus would swing by my desk with questions he was too proud to ask Dennis. Small things at first. Which folder held the brand guidelines? Whether Carol preferred decks in PDF or Keynote. Then bigger things. On Wednesday, he asked me what the SKU rationalization numbers meant, and I realized he hadn't actually read the research deck I'd built 3 months earlier. He'd skimmed the summary slide. I helped him anyway. I want to be honest about that too. I wasn't trying to sabotage anybody. I told myself if I helped enough, Dennis would see who was actually holding the account together, and it would matter. On Thursday, Marcus asked if I could just send him my talking points for the client meeting. Not notes, not a summary. My actual talking points. The ones I would have used if I were standing in that room myself. I sat at my desk for a long moment looking at that message, and something in me went very quiet and very still. I sent them. Every line. Friday, Dennis stopped by my desk on his way out for the weekend. He said, "Marcus tells me you've been a big help this week. See, this is what I mean about being a team player." He smiled like he'd given me something. I didn't smile back. I said, "Glad it's coming together," and left it at that. Over the weekend, I did something I don't usually do. I went back through every email I'd sent Bramwell over the past 4 months. Every call recap, every follow-up, every great chatting today. Here's what we discussed. I printed nothing, deleted nothing, changed nothing. I just read it all again, slowly. The way you'd reread an old letter to remember exactly what you'd meant by it. Carol Ito trusted me because I had never once given her a reason not to. That wasn't something Marcus could borrow for a Monday morning. Sunday night, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Hi, Rachel. This is Priya, Carol's assistant. I got your number from an old email. Quick question. Is there any chance you're joining tomorrow's meeting? Carol was hoping to close out a few things with you specifically before the holiday freeze." I stared at that message for a long time. I thought about forwarding it straight to Dennis. Instead, I typed back a short, polite reply, and then I set my phone face down on the kitchen counter and went to bed early because I had a feeling Monday was going to be a long day, one way or another. Monday morning, I came into the office like it was any other day. I answered emails. I worked on a campaign for one of my smaller accounts, and I did not once mention Priya's text to anyone. I hadn't replied with anything more than thanks for reaching out. I'll let the team know. True enough, technically, since I figured Dennis and Marcus were the team in question. I just never got around to telling them. The Bramwell meeting was set for 11 a.m., a video call this time, since Carol's team was cutting travel before the holidays. Marcus had been prepping all weekend, according to the calendar invites, still CCing half the office by mistake. At 10:45, he walked past my desk in a blazer he definitely didn't usually wear, holding a coffee he wasn't drinking, just holding like a prop. "Wish me luck," he said. "Good luck," I said, and I meant it. Honestly, I didn't want him to fail. I just wasn't going to bleed myself dry propping him up anymore. At 11:02, my phone buzzed again. Priya, hi Rachel. Carol's asking if you're able to hop on. She says it's important. I looked at the conference room through the glass wall. Marcus was up at the screen, deck open, Dennis sitting off to the side with his arms crossed in that way he did when he wanted credit without responsibility. I could see Carol's face on the big monitor, and even through the glass I could read her expression. Polite, flat. The look she got when she was deciding whether a meeting was worth finishing. I didn't go in. I want to be honest about why. It wasn't defiance. Not really. Not in the moment. It was that nobody in that room had asked me to be there. Not Dennis, not Marcus. I wasn't going to invite myself into a meeting I'd been quietly uninvited from 6 days earlier. At 11:19, the conference room door opened hard enough that a couple people at nearby desks looked up. Dennis came out first, jaw tight, phone already in his hand. Marcus followed a few seconds later, blazer looking a little less sharp than it had 20 minutes before, staring at his shoes. I heard Dennis before I saw him. He was half shouting into his phone at whoever picked up, something about rescheduling, something about a misunderstanding on our end. Then he turned and saw me sitting at my desk, calm, working like the last 20 minutes hadn't happened at all. Rachel, he said, and for the first time in 6 days, his voice didn't have any boardroom confidence left in it. My office, now. I saved my document, closed my laptop halfway, and stood up slowly, in no particular hurry, to find out what he thought had gone wrong, or who he thought was going to fix it. Dennis's office door clicked shut behind me, and he didn't sit down, just stood there with both hands flat on the desk like he needed something to hold on to. Carol Ito ended the call after 9 minutes, he said, and I'm quoting her here, she came on today expecting to close things out with someone who actually knew her account. Instead, she got a guy reading off a script he didn't write. I didn't say anything back right away, just let it sit there a second. She asked where you were, he said. Twice. Wasn't invited? I said. You told me to focus on other accounts, so I did. He rubbed his face with both hands, and for a second he actually looked tired, not managerial tired, actually tired. She said, if you're not on this going forward, Bramwell walks. Her words. I could have brought up a lot right then. The talking points I'd typed out for Marcus for free. 4 months of calls I carried by myself. That word he used on me, ready, like I'd failed some test nobody told me I was taking. Instead, I just said, so what do you want me to do? He looked at me the way you look at someone when you've run out of other people to call. Call her back this afternoon. Lead, not support. And Marcus stays on support, if that's okay with you. Small sentence, if that's okay with you. 6 days ago, he didn't ask me anything. I called Carol later, just us two. She didn't ask where I'd been all week, didn't bring up the meeting at all really, just said, good, you're back. Like the whole thing had been some scheduling glitch that fixed itself. We spent almost 40 minutes untangling what Marcus's deck had gotten wrong. By the time we hung up, Bramwell was still ours. I didn't make a thing out of it around the office. Dennis apologized eventually, a few days later, in that clipped way where you can tell he practiced it in his head first. I didn't really need that though. What I needed was smaller. I needed him to get that competence isn't always a blazer and a confident voice in a room. Sometimes it's just someone who answered every single email for 4 months and never once made it about her. Marcus and I still work together. He's better now. Ask the right questions instead of guessing. I don't hold any of it against him. It wasn't his call to be put there in the first place. Me, I just stopped waiting around for somebody to notice what I was carrying. Made sure after that, my name was actually on my own work.